into this mix.
Hey friends, this is Derek Rose of Conscious Resistance Network, and today I want to talk with you guys again about Facebook, about the internet, about social media, and about the upcoming elections. For those of you who may have missed it, go back and see a video from last week where I talked about Facebook, the Atlantic Council, and the upcoming midterm elections. That's a 20-minute video that gets more in depth than I'm going to today. I just want to give a couple of updates. But first, I want to remind you guys that I am completely independent, supported only by you guys and occasionally by Smart Cash. But these days, more and more, I'm needing support from my viewers, from my readers, from my supporters. Anybody who can support me, please go to patreon.com/DerekRose, and you can support me on a monthly basis to allow me to continue to do what I do. And we have lots of exciting content that you're going to want to support coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that. So let's get into this situation, right? In the last video, I was talking about how the fact remains that the push for propagandizing the American people and really the people of the world, that Facebook and social media companies are being used as a way to, to manipulate elections by Russia and other unsavory folks. That idea is already being ramped up again. Now, as I talked in the last video, we're seeing more and more talk of the Russians are going to interfere in the upcoming midterm elections. And if you're out there paying attention to this election, you're seeing that people are literally talking about it as if it's the most important thing to ever happen. This is the most important election again. They're all the most important, right? But this one's now the most important. And so people are convinced that if they don't act in this election, that Trump will not get out of office and the Democrats won't be able to take things back. So people are really freaked out about the possibility of Russian interference. And we will see some type of claims of interference one way or the other. People will say there was interference, and that will be used as a way to call for making the big tech companies, Facebook, YouTube, Google, probably a couple others, to public utilities, putting them under the regulation of the government and making them public utilities like electricity and other things of that sort. This is a very dangerous move. I showed you in the last video Jimmy Dore, who's a progressive left-winger, talking about calling for government regulation. I've been seeing in Alex Jones's videos, he's using a different angle, and Trump's even using it, where they're saying that basically, the internet companies shouldn't be able to censor anybody. So Trump's acting as if he's going to come be the savior of free speech. And to do so, of course, we need to put this into the hands of the government. So everybody's coming from different angles, but at the end of the day, they want the government to be in control. And I want to show you guys a couple of clips real quick to illustrate my point here. Just today, this was reported, Trump aide says President weighing regulations on Google search engine that he considers rigged. So this is not directly related to social media, but it's, again, another part of the amping up of propaganda about putting the tech companies in the hands of the government. White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow said Tuesday that President Donald Trump is considering new regulations on Google search engines to address his concerns that it turns up too many stories of him. So basically, Trump's just saying, like, there's a lot of fake news out there. It's attacking you. Whenever you search for Trump news, all you get is negative things, and we can't have that. So Trump said he's going to look into this, and his National Economic Council advisor here basically said the administration is going to take a look at federal regulations, and we'll let you know. So what does that mean exactly? But, I mean, we don't know. But obviously, we know that Google, Facebook, and then they do alter their feeds. They do control the paradigm when it comes to what you're actually going to see when you search and things like that. That's nothing new. It's been happening way before Trump was around, and it's been happening to independent journalists and activists for years. Now, the idea, though, that putting the internet into the hands of the government is the good idea is insane. So now let's check out this clip from my friend Dan Dix from Press for Truth. And unfortunately, I don't really know why the heck Dan is even interviewing this person. I'm not from Canada, but that doesn't really matter, because if you look at this lady, like Faith Goldie is soy feminizing the West. She works for Rebel Media. Okay, this is kind of a right-wing conservative lady. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it definitely seems like some BS propaganda that I'm seeing here. And not only because this lady is calling for, this whole thing is kind of about like make Toronto safe again, make it great again. It sounds a lot like make America great again. And this lady says as mayor, she's going to come in and get rid of all the illegals and things like that. And okay, well, that's just, I guess that's fine, right? But then she starts getting into this thing where she says at one point that, officers of the law should be able to stop people if they see them on the street corner at 3 a.m. They should be able to profile them or come harass them and ask them for ID just to make sure everything's okay and keep everybody safe because of gang violence. And that's just the same sort of excuse for power we've seen all throughout history in the past, So It's not buying. I'm not buying it. But more than that, more than her call for police state violence, she's also doing the same thing. And I left Dan a comment here. Hopefully he sees it. Dan, calling for the big tech companies to become public utilities is a huge step in the wrong direction. This will be another knife in the heart of indie media and thought in general as they seize further control of the narrative. Combine this power grab with the coming 5G smart grid, and the US and Canada are one step closer to the Sesame credit system employed by the Chinese. And that's kind of my whole thoughts here. But let's listen to this short clip here and listen to this woman explain to Dan what her idea is.
Now we're seeing the major tech companies making themselves gods of political opinion. Just within the last few weeks, an example I'd like to point to is the case with Alex Jones. And you know, like him or hate him, regardless of what you think about the man says, there was obvious clear collusion there to silence a certain opinion that they do not want being expressed. And I think something similar has happened with you. So you know, what can you tell us about this PayPal and Patreon ban? Because that seems very serious to me. I mean, this is how we in the field of independent media fund ourselves, and they've taken away your ability to accept funding. That is major in my view. So what can you tell us about that, and where are you at with that?
Look, this is exactly why I think it's easy to say that we need more innovation and, you know, a control of the means of production, to use the vernacular of the enemy, the communists, of course, on the right. But I think perhaps what would be more poignant or effective would be to see many of these big tech industries essentially legislated as some sort of public utility. This is something I've talked about. I know Steve Bannon brought this up. I know that Trump is tweeting about that they're looking into what they can do. And so what that in effect means in layman's terms is that internet monopolies, guys like Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, PayPal, sort of like as a big five as an example, that have monopolies in their given fields, would be regulated as a public utility. So very much as your sewage, your water, etc., your hydro. So it doesn't matter what you, Dan, think.
All right, I think you guys kind of get the point here, what I'm going with, but I don't know. Dan, hopefully Dan sees this and we can talk about this, and I don't know why he'd fallen for this, or he didn't really confirm. You know, his face looks maybe a little skeptical, but that is the problem. This is what I'm saying, is people from all directions. This is a conservative woman saying we need to make public utilities. You've got the left wing saying we need to make public utility. Check out this article from earlier this year. Facebook is destined to become a regulated public utility, from The Independent. Then March 2018, don't delete Facebook, regulate it. It should be treated like any other vital utility. Then just 2 months ago, House Reps suggest converting Facebook, Google, Twitter into public utilities. And I mean, are you getting the picture here? Then this is from last year. Steve Bannon wants Facebook and Google regulated like utilities. So we've seen this call going on for quite some time. Thankfully, some people, you know, are actually calling out what's really going on. And as you may remember this, that The Intercept reported, Glenn Greenwald, last year, that Facebook is deleting accounts at the direction of the US and Israeli governments, right? So do you guys remember this? Facebook and these companies are already working with the, the governments. The big tech companies are essentially just the fronts for intelligence companies that are obviously working with their governments, right? And Facebook and all of them are okay with that. So they're already a horrible entity. They're not really private, you know, so this excuse that they can just lead anybody, it doesn't really hold up, But the answer is not to put them into the hands of the government. As I've been saying now for a couple of weeks, and I've been freaking out thinking about this every day and trying to get people to understand. Now, when I say freaking out, I mean it's becoming more and more clear every single day. These elections are going to be a false flag in order to gain control of these companies, in order to make them public utilities. And apparently the people already want it. The people are calling for it. Now, once the 5G system comes into play and the government already has control of the social media companies, and we now know as of last week that Facebook has their own rating system where they rate the trustworthiness of users from a scale of 0 to 1, combine all that together and you end up with the Sesame credit system, similar to what the Chinese government is already doing. That is where we're headed. So once again, I'm here to shout from the rooftop, say, please start paying attention, my activists, my journalists, my friends, whatever you're doing. I think it's time to figure out some real plans. Decide if you're going to stay in this country and what you're going to do when things move very quickly, or if you want to leave and what else you want to do. Just have a plan, have some ideas on how you're going to handle the coming changes, because first they delete the counter narratives, the opposition, the anti-establishment from the social media spaces. They purge us from various networks. But if they can't get rid of us completely that way, they'll just put us in the hands of the government, right? And then the government can slowly remove all of us. And once they delete us on the digital space, the digital matrix, it's only one step further from actually going after people. So that's where we're headed. Call me crazy if you will, but I see it on the horizon. And apparently my articles sometimes, my predictions, my thoughts are a little bit too far ahead of their time, or nobody's listening whenever I make them. And I know I'm not the only one that sees this. I'm not special by any means, but I feel like I am one of the few that's actually saying like, hey guys, we should really be paying attention to how serious this is. So if you see what I see, if you're concerned, please do share this video with your friends and family. Share these articles with your friends and family. Tell them to be skeptical of what's coming and to not just swallow these devices and put them into their homes, and to let the government take control of the internet and social media and of freedom of speech and of free thought and of our lives in general. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please follow, subscribe, like, share, all that on Steemit, DTube, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You know, we're going to be off these platforms very soon, whether they force us off or we just end up deleting them. So you're going to want to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com. And of course, you can always support us at patreon.com/DerekBros. Thank you guys so much. Remember, you're powerful, you're beautiful, and you are free if you want to be, but it's going to take some work. Peace.